Hello, hello, hello. This is not showing me how many people are here. This is weird. I don't know what's going on, man. TikTok's being weird tonight. Oh well. I will be clueless as to who's here. Wait, maybe I can do it with this? No. Weird. Strange. Hey, Simplex. I'm here, but also in the Matrix. I know, retro punk, aren't we all? How's agency life? Welcome, everyone. My name's Kyle Shannon. They call me Hamilton. Dun, 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 dun. This is the AI Learning Lab. I have no idea how many people are here. Happy Monday. You got any thoughts, questions about AI? Pop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. We'll get. Oh, now I see some people there. There's 16 of us. Hey, Tobias, what's shaking? 21 so far. Okay, it's being really slow to update on my side. So feel free, double tap the screen, get the hearts going, and then if you'd be willing to share the live, and maybe we'll get in a pile. 42. All right, it's climbing. I'm only seeing 16 still, so whatever. I mean, you know, with these platforms, like, they don't charge us anything, so what do you want for free? If the product's free, you're the product. Oh, good lordy. Welcome to Monday. Are you all as excited as I am for Monday? I had a crappy day at work today. Not like nothing bad happened. I just got there. I like stared into the middle distance for most of the day, just like nothing. It's just like boop, fucking flatlined all day. 83. Oh, thanks for keeping me posted on how many folks are in here. This is the AI Learning Lab. I'll show you these URLs in a second here. My name is Kyle Shannon. I'm an entrepreneur of many years, many decades actually at this point. I'm an old motherfucker. And I swear occasionally, so if you don't like that, I wouldn't stay. I can be a little smarmy. I try to answer any questions I can about AI, so pop them in the questions below. I am not an engineer or a machine learning guy. I'm more like an entrepreneur that innovates with technology once it gets ready for prime time. And so I kind of mark the launch of ChatGPT as a new era, a new inflection point. It's actually very similar. I was an entrepreneur back in the mid '90s when the World Wide Web first came out, and there's a lot of parallels between the early days of the web and the early days of this generative AI stuff. So that's why I'm so excited about it. That's why I started the channel. So if you have questions about it, pop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Oh, let me show you. So why do I have these on screen? I'm not affiliated with any of these URLs or these companies in any way, but if you have not played with ChatGPT, go to that top URL. That's the official ChatGPT website, chat.openai.com. Go there and start playing. If you have zero idea what to do, if you don't know what it is, it kind of looks like a Google search bar once you sign up and get an account. But it's so profoundly deeper than a Google search. So if you want to know how to talk to it, go to that URL right there, prompts.chat. That's a little primer that will talk to you about what prompting is, what large language models like ChatGPT are, or the underlying model is a large language model. ChatGPT is the app sitting on top of it. But go start playing, and you owe it to yourself if you haven't played with ChatGPT. Is play with it long enough until you have your Kevin McAllister moment, which is this moment. Go see if you can find that moment for yourself. Then Bing.com is also ChatGPT. If you click on the chat button there, Bing Chat is GPT-4 connected to the internet. You can also tell it to make you images, and it uses the DALL-E model to make you images. And then Poe.com gives you access to 6 different large language models that I think are at least worth playing with. You can compare them there, which is interesting. There's one from Quora from Poe, There's 2 from OpenAI, and there's 3 from Anthropic. The Claude models are there. So that's an interesting site. And then Futurepedia.io, that's a big directory of, what are they called? AI apps. So go there and do that. All right, let's get to some questions. So what will we be learning about? Wait, what were we learning? How about ethics? Oh, what will we be learning? How about ethics? Well, I guess, what do you want to know about ethics? Like, like, in what context? Copyright, alignment, politics. Not going to talk about that. Ethics and politics doesn't exist anymore, so we're good there. We're covered. It's non-existent. Does AI have ethics, or do they need a comedy? I assume you mean a community. Does AI have ethics? Well, if you should go listen to Sam Altman talk about, the dangers of AI and the benefits of AI and things like that. He's a very thoughtful guy. The OpenAI model called human reinforcement learning involves humans. So there are humans looking at things going, that's good, that's bad, that's how they train it. There are flaws with that. So even though there may be ethics, there's also bias because humans are involved, and the data that these things are trained on have biases in them. So there's a lot of issues with that. One of the reasons I like Anthropic, which is you can play with the Anthropic models at Poe.com, is that they use something called the constitutional learning model, where there they create a set of rules like, increase prosperity, don't harm people, things like that. And then the training is done against that constitution. So it's not a human constitution. I think that approach is ultimately really interesting when it comes to alignment, or aligning the goals of the robot with the goals of the people. Because we want those 2 goals aligned. And if they're not, that's bad, because they could just decide they don't need us anymore if they get smart enough. They're not there yet, but holy crap, is it coming. Microsoft just put out a paper yesterday or the day before about a billion token context window, which is just insanity. So these things are going to get smart very, very fast, like way smarter than they are now. Do you prefer a keyboard plus AI.com domain? Oh, keyword plus AI.com or keyword.ai. I am incredibly frustrated right now with the domains of every company in Web3 and AI right now, because the Web3 crypto bros started it with the .xyz and the .this and the .that. I mean, we've had alternative domains. I started one of the first agencies in the mid-90s. There have been alternative domains for a while, but they've never caught on. And all of a sudden, in the past, 3 or 4 years, I can't ever remember any sites. Is it .com? Is it .ai? Is it .io? Is it .xyz? Is it .bubble butt? It's just fucking exhausting. So whenever anyone asks me, something, I can always remember the keyword, the name of it. I can never remember the domain. So I'm an old guy, so I'm like, get off my lawn with your .ais. I got my company's called Storyvine. I did get Storyvine.ai because we're doing some stuff in the space, and I thought it might be important. We might need to distinguish it from the .com. But I suppose I'm a traditionalist. I just can't remember all the alternative domains. I mean, it's fine if you're clicking on it, right? If you have it as a hyperlink somewhere, it doesn't really fucking matter what it's called. But if you expect people to remember your URL, .com's the way to go. Which company would you recommend applying to if you want if you want to do entry level AI language model? Do you want to work on the engineering side, or do you want to work on the applying large language models to a business side? There's a big distinction there, because I think if it's the latter, I'd say it's not so much the type of company, but more like the type of attitude. You want to find someone that's embracing AI. You don't want to go in and be a salmon swimming up the river. If you're looking for a new place, you might as well go to some place committed to it. If you're on the other side, I don't know. OpenAI seems like they're hiring. Inflection just raised $1.3 billion. They've got that new PI agent. They look really interesting. That's an ex-DeepMind founder that created Inflection. And then Anthropic, I think, is really interesting. Stability AI, I think, is really interesting if you want to work on more on the research and science and building the products rather than using the products. Do they do? Oh, do they need a committee for ethics? So, the question about ethics, do they need a committee? Yeah, there's some interesting things in here. Yes, they need an ethics committee. They need a safety committee. They need a human alignment committee. Yes, they do. They need a regulatory committee. So, and I mean, listen, the good news is this: the companies that are big enough to have like the big models, OpenAI, Anthropic, Inflection, Google, Meta, they're all big enough to have, ethics boards and things like that. You might be cynical about whether or not they're going to be ethical. That's a whole different conversation. What's a bit scarier right now is because Meta released their foundational models out into the wild, there's now all these open source projects that don't have any safety guardrails at all. So the good news right now is that those models the open source models are not as powerful as GPT-4, but they're getting better all the time. Like, on a every 3-day basis, they're improving dramatically. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Sarah Silverman is suing OpenAI and Meta for copyright infringement. Like I said, the next 20 years are going to be a never-ending stream of lawsuits. At some point, someone's going to make precedent one way or the other. And, Sarah will win that lawsuit, and after 38 appeals, they'll be like, okay, you have to shut down the AI. They won't. There's already open source. Like at this point, I think what these lawsuits ultimately will do is sort of figure out where the boundaries are. And, similar to how streaming, when streaming services came out, everyone freaked out and said, no one's going to get paid, no one's going to get paid. There were all sorts of lawsuits. And then they came to some relatively shitty compensation model for musicians. I think in the world of AI, that compensation model gets even shittier, because we're entering a world of infinite content creation, right? And almost all of the copyright monetization stuff is happening on the usage side, on the output side. And if you're entering a world where fan art may sound as good, if not better, as the original artist's work, but it's going to be derived from them, we might need to find compensation and attribution models that happen on the generation side, not on the usage side. But we're not anywhere close to that right now, right? So we're going to have to go through 4 or 5 or 10 years of just everyone suing everyone, and then at some point realizing, well, we're not going to uninvent this shit, and and we've got to figure out a way to work forward so that artists can get compensated and businesses can stay in business. So I don't have any kind of a clue what how it's going to play out, other than just expect more and more lawsuits. I'm a big fan of Sarah Silverman, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think high-profile lawsuits like that are going to make a difference, and they're going to establish some sort of precedent. I think we'll see some on the copyright side as well. At some point, some famous person is going to try to copyright something where AI was used to generate a lot of it, and the copyright office is going to shut that shit down, and that's going to end. I don't know. We're going to see some interesting stuff. Hello, Albert. How are you? I wonder how long it'll take for these lawsuits to settle, litigate. Like here's the thing that I've learned about lawyers. I was part of a public company. The agency I started in the mid '90s. We went public, and when the .com bubble burst and our stock price tanked, I was part of 4 class action lawsuits that named me personally for hundreds of millions of dollars. And every single one of those class action lawsuits settled for, wait for it, the exact amount of the lawyer bill. 4 out of 4 class action lawsuits settled for the amount of the lawyer bill. So lawyers don't give a fuck who they sue or what they do or if they win. It's nice if they win, but even if they lose, they win, right? Because those they were frivolous lawsuits, and the lawyers made a fucking fortune. And that's what's this is the lawyers are out pre-ordering their yachts right now because of AI. So I think it's going to take a while. They have no incentive to make the lawsuits any less or any shorter, because the longer they are, the more money they make. Someone said .com is king. .com, Gen Xers. .com's the only way, baby. All these newfangled highfalutin domain names. If you can't spell .com, get off my goddamn lawn. Ah! How learn AI? Have to go to college? No! Go there right now. Chat.openai.com. Go to prompts.chat. Start learning. So, okay, 2 things. There's an inflection point. Before November 30th, 2022, if you want to get into machine learning and AI, probably good to go to college. You need to be a scientist, a mathematician, a researcher, something like that. Post ChatGPT, there's now, I don't know, I'm guessing 200, 300 million people who do not have engineering degrees that are using these tools in their business, in their personal lives, to start businesses. You can learn all this stuff without knowing anything about mathematics. Does having some concept of technology help? Absolutely, because we're very early. These tools are very, very sketchy and janky, and if you want to do any of the advanced stuff, you might have to do some geeky stuff, like fire up a Google Colab, create a virtual machine, and go make yourself some LangChain or whatever. So it doesn't hurt you to have some technical background, but you don't need it. Go to chat.openai.com, go to prompts.chat, and that's why I have these on screen for my entire lives, is go start playing right now. Start getting AI literate. Start understanding what these tools make possible, because they are insane. What does that mean? Billion context window. What it means is you could put 750 million words in a prompt. To put that in context, that's more words than an average human will read in their lifetime. And it basically means you could put in massive amounts of data essentially into your chat session, right? So right now you've got a 3,000 word context window. So you know how when you're chatting with ChatGPT, if you do it for a long time, sometimes it just forgets what the hell you were talking about. You're like, but I gave you my whole life story up there, and now you don't seem to know who I am. That's because The life story slid out of that context window. It's only 3,000 words. 750 million words. You could put in massive amounts of data and still have massive amounts of data you could, do back and forth, and it would have sort of this incredibly long memory. They're saying with the approach that they came up with, this is a bunch of Microsoft researchers, they could get it into the trillions, which basically means, like what I saw a video on it today, and basically what it means is if they get it into the trillions, you can put the entire internet essentially into active memory. So you could be chatting with the entire internet as your sort of known knowledge, part of the memory. It's insane. So here's what it basically means. Don't worry about the numbers. The numbers don't mean anything. What it basically means is if we're jumping from, like right now at po.com, you can play with the Claude 100K token model. If we're jumping from 100,000 tokens to 1 billion tokens, the speed with which we get to AGI starts to look more like 2024 than 2029. AGI is artificial general intelligence. The point at which these machines can reason, become smarter than the smartest human, starts to look like a year and a half, rather than 3 to 5. So that's insanity. It's like, and then once that happens, once these machines get that smart, then they start to accelerate themselves, and the improvements keep accelerating. And this is why folks are talking so much about alignment right now. And OpenAI mentioned yesterday or the day before, no, it's the day before, that they're committing 20% of their compute resources to super alignment, is what they're calling it, which basically just means let's make sure these things have the same goals as humans. So we're not at war with them, because they're going to get way smarter than us, I think a lot faster than any of us are prepared for. Yeah, so crazy. So ethics covers a broad spectrum of stuff. Exactly. Like, I don't know quite what you're talking about there, but for me, it's about alignment. The ethics thing, I mean, ethics is in, some of the, like, bias at least is in the eye of the beholder. Different people have different biases, and I think what we'll have is we'll have different models. But the ethics and integrity and alignment thing is super important. Depends on who's doing the AI training. I kind of think of it similar to dog training. That's probably not a bad metaphor, actually. So I was on Discord, read the reason for Bing was the paywall issue. Think they will bring it back. Yeah, I do think they'll bring it back. So here's how I understand it. If you're even remotely geeky, when you land on a site like New York Times or Fortune Magazine, it was Fortune Magazine was the issue apparently, and it pops up that thing that says you can't see this site. There's kind of two flavors of paywalls. One of them, if you view the source code of the site, if they have a shitty paywall, you can actually go read the article. You just go look at the source code of the site. You inspect, and then you can go read it. You can go copy it. Then there's other paywalls that you can't. You've actually got to have a token to see the article. I think it was the former kind of paywall where you could just essentially inspect the code of a site, and that's what it was pulling out. Why? It's been almost a week now that feature hasn't been there. Let's see if they brought it back. I kind of check it once a day just to see if they brought it back. No, wait, let me reload. Let me reload my ChatGPT. You can make money with ChatGPT. Nope, it's not there. I don't know why it's taken so long. I mean, what's weird is plugins still work, and they're connected to the internet, and Bing.com is still connected to the internet. Like, that's still functional. The chat there is still functional. So this was clearly something about OpenAI's implementation of Browse with Bing was doing something that obviously broke something, and it's more complicated to fix than I thought it would be, but I don't know. Because you'd think, I don't know. Maybe they got to build a whole whitelisting kind of application that if companies are on that list, then it won't scrape it or something like that. I honestly have no idea. I don't know why it's taken so long. .com is king. Yes. Applying large language models side. Oh, applying large language model side. Okay, so then what I would do, special K, special K 353. You're special. So what I would do is I just start. I would get as AI literate as you can as soon as you can. So, go to these tools, understand the different image generation models: Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, Adobe Firefly, Generative Fill within Photoshop. You don't have to be masters at those, but just at least understand that world. Understand, as deeply as you can what generative AI tools like ChatGPT make possible. Understand that they can write code and that they can write copy and that they can make tables and that they can help you do research and that they hallucinate and all that sort of stuff. So if you're already decently AI literate like that, great. The next thing I would do is start putting it out there, right? So you don't need to start a TikTok channel like I did, because that's fucking insanity. But post on LinkedIn, hey, I just did this experiment with ChatGPT. Join meetups or join AI communities. Put that on your LinkedIn. If you, I work for this group and we did this cool content generation tool. And the guy that runs the group said, hey, do you mind if I give you the title of Chief Generative Officer? And I'm like, sure, why not? I don't care. And he said, I'm pretty sure it's the first Chief Generative Officer in the world. I'm like, awesome. I get to claim I had that first. So whatever. What does it mean? It doesn't fucking mean anything. But when I put that there, people started reaching out to me. So put yourself out there. Talk about this stuff with your friends and family, even if they think you're weird. Again, just because we're very quickly, and I'm starting to see it happening, we're very quickly moving into a mode where companies are going to say, we got to figure this out. This is urgent. Like someone's going to get religion in one of these companies, and it won't be religion like they understand this stuff. It's going to be religion like, holy shit, we got to do something. Who knows anything about this? And if they're surfing LinkedIn and they see that you know about it, they might click on your link. And then the other thing I would do is, as you start to get better and better at that, you could put yourself out there and do education. You could do workshops for companies. And then from that, maybe that turns into a job. I would just be very, very reticent of any company that's like, well, we want you to do AI, but we're taking a wait and see attitude with it. Anyone who's not actively going, we're trying to disrupt ourselves here. This stuff is so profound, it puts everything we do at risk, and we're going to figure it out before we get, bowled over by it. I would actively seek out companies that are on the more aggressive side of dealing with this stuff. Will AI make humans obsolete? If you go listen to the Lex Friedman interview with George Hotz, George Hotz certainly thinks so. He talks about the incremental value of humans is getting increasingly niche, as he put it. I don't know. I think that where I'm hoping it lands is that these machines can do a lot of the low-level, repetitive, like the soul-crushing part of your day, like depending on your job, it might be like a lot of the day. But the part of your job that's just like, oh, I got to go write those 10 emails, and or I got to go deal with the insurance company, or, I just write, iterations of the same copy that someone else came up with, and I'm like just a cog in a machine. I think that these AI tools do that shit really well. So my hope is that all of the complicated, repetitive, low-level, soul-crushing work of the world will be done by these things. And then that frees us as humans to either operate at a higher level or work less hours or do less for the same amount of productivity output. So we see a gap where what's required to do the work is lower than doing the work. What fills that gap? I don't fucking know. AI is going to generate a bunch of new jobs, so there might be new jobs that fill that gap. I now understand why Andrew Yang was talking about universal basic income, because that gap could look like there's a bunch of unemployed people, and you might need to fill that gap with some universal basic income until the new jobs come. But that gap could also look like now there's a bunch of people that were doing kind of low-level cog in the machine work that are now going to say, you know what I've always wanted to do? Write the great American novel, start my own company, start a flower shop. You know, I think I might like to be a plumber. Like, doesn't fucking matter. So I think we're going to see a lot of personal reinvention and a lot of innovation. But I think it's also going to be painful. I think as the AI drives up productivity and capability, and we don't need as many people, I think that gap is going to look like a lot of displaced people for the next 2 years, 3 years maybe. There's a new show on Netflix called Unknown Killer Robots. What happens when machines make life? Or the documentary will explore the dangers of artificial intelligence in military application. Yeah. Like what Boston Dynamics has said is, you know, if you build robots, just rule number one, don't put guns on them. You know the military's fucking putting guns on them. You know that, right? So, this gets back to the alignment thing, right? Super alignment. Are the goals of these things aligned with human rights? And if they are, good. But how do you do that? And when you have a world where you've got open source large language models, which we do now, and they don't have any alignment, and they don't have any corporate overlords, and they don't have any regulation, what happens then? Do you make any AI illegal unless it's through one of the regulated companies? I don't think that's going to fly, because that's not going to happen globally. It could happen state by state. It could happen even nation by nation. But then your neighbor's just going to do stuff, and they're going to innovate. I don't know. It's wild. What's that new? It's called Unknown Killer Robots. See, that's the other thing right now is the fear-mongering with this stuff is kind of stupid. We've had 50 years of Hollywood telling us the robots are going to kill us. So I think there's a predisposition for people to fear them, because change is hard anyway. And when you've got things that are this profoundly powerful, that the answer to, if I'm a copywriter, like, is my job the same as it was before? It's not, and it never will be. When you have things that produce kind of instant existential questions for people's livelihood, that sort of compounds the fear of Hollywood telling us the robots are going to kill us. So, I hate the fact that they're calling it Unknown Killer Robots, but whatever. That's why I do this channel, because I think it's just too easy to give into that fear. It's really sensationalistic. I think it is as likely that these things profoundly improve life as much as they profoundly destroy life. But we'll see. It will certainly outlive you or I. Well, it might. So will our children and grandchildren. It won't if the internet and electricity doesn't exist anymore. If the infrastructure goes bye-bye, then AI doesn't survive it. Although, to that point, well, no, I mean, you need functional computers for this stuff to work. So if they drop some electromagnetic pulse weapons, then you know, that's the off button for this thing, is computers cease working. But you know, then we're into the dystopian future that we all saw in the movies. And I hope you're good at gardening and defending yourself. I want WeLearn for my real estate company. You mean AI learning for your real estate company? What do you mean when they say ChatGPT hallucinates? Okay, so I also like to describe it as mansplaining as a service. So when you ask ChatGPT to give you an answer, it will give you an answer. And then if you're like, I'm pretty sure that answer is wrong, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Here's the right answer. And then that answer might be wrong. And then you're like, no, that's still wrong. And it's like, my apologies. This is embarrassing. Here's the real answer. And then that answer's wrong. That's hallucinating. The way the technology works is, when you're in Google and you're typing a sentence and like the last three words of the sentence, the autocomplete shows up? That's all these tools are. Except it's like that on steroids, right? So it writes you a big, long dissertation of, some research that you asked it to do, and then it provides citations of, here's the links to the articles that I used to come to this opinion, and then you click on those links, and they're all dead links. When it's writing all of these words, it's doing them one word at a time, just as a probability engine. It doesn't actually go back and look at what it wrote and go, is that correct? Now, there's a lot of companies working on that piece of it, but it's not there right now. So just the nature of how it works, it is just this, it's got the knowledge of what it does as much as a calculator has knowledge of what it does, right? We just trust that calculators have the right formulas in them. When we put in 2 plus 2, it seems to come out consistently at 4. If calculators, when you put in 2 plus 2, came out with some random number, we wouldn't trust them as much, right? So that's where these things are right now, is it's like we built a fancy word calculator that 2 plus 2 is most of the times 4, but occasionally not. And it's up to you to deal with that. Now, there are times when that's completely irrelevant, right? If I'm working on a screenplay or some creative writing or writing lyrics for a song or social media copy, whatever it is, I might not need that. But if I'm doing a blog post that makes a claim, and that claim has got to be backed up by some research, and that research is in there, well, that's then on you to make sure that that research is accurate. There was, about 2 weeks ago, there was a lawyer that had ChatGPT write a legal opinion for him, and he handed it to a judge. And all of the case law that was cited in his opinion didn't exist. And the judge called him out on it and said, what the fuck is this? And the lawyer was like, I wrote it in ChatGPT. That's on the lawyer, in my opinion. These things do this right now. Like, a year or two from now, we won't have to worry about this. But right now, these things they hallucinate. So if you're a lawyer, check your work. All right. Is there an easy way to avoid plagiarism if ChatGPT writes an article for me besides rewriting it all? So it's not plagiarism. Like I said, the way it works is that when you write your prompt, it generates essentially a mathematical probability that it then looks at all of the words it knows. And all of the words it knows is a lot of them. So the core large language model sitting underneath ChatGPT, it was trained on all of the public internet. And so what it's not doing is it's not copying and pasting from specific pieces of work and pasting that into your document. What it is doing is saying, based on the prompt that you wrote, the mathematical probability that the next word is 99.99999%. So it'll type the word the, and then it takes what you wrote and the word the, and it creates the probability for the next word. And it just does that over and over and over again. So it's looking at all of the stuff it knows and whatever's been kind of filtered out depending on your prompt, right? So that's why if you tell ChatGPT, I want you to act like a lawyer that went to Harvard Law School, you get better answers than if you just say, give me a legal opinion. because the give me a legal opinion looks at all of the internet. When you say, I want you to ask like a Harvard law professor, it's going to look at, the words that are kind of in that semantic cloud. So it'll get better. So it's not plagiarizing. What you might be talking about is, can it be detected that it was written by AI? That's where you might want to have a rewriter rewrite it. If you're at a university where they're using AI detectors, you go find a AI rewriter and it will rewrite it in a way. And apparently, GPT-4 doesn't get caught by the detectors a lot. I think this whole idea of detecting whether something is AI or not is going to be very short-lived, because these tools are going to be incorporated into like Microsoft Word, Google Docs, note-taking apps. It's going to be in everything. And the way that when you start working with this stuff on a regular basis, it's very rare that I'll take something out of this machine and use that wholesale. What I'll often do is I'll say, I kind of have an idea for a piece or something I need to do, and I'll use that. I'm like, give me a first draft, get me to 80%, and then I kind of take it from there. And then if I get stuck in there, I'll say, oh, let me take this paragraph and have it rewrite it, or give me an example, and it'll do that, and I'll put it back in. So almost all of what I write is some sort of hybrid of AI and me. And I think increasingly that's how it's going to be. So I don't think I don't think you need to worry about the plagiarism piece. If you're talking about AI detectors, that you'll need to do some research on, depending on the organization you work for. How does AI learn to use it for my real estate comp? You mean compensation or computer? If it's compensation, go to prompts.chat, go to that thing, read about prompting and how prompting works, and then look at, so what that document it's a whole list of act like a. So you could say, act like a real estate, specialist that understands real estate compensation, or I don't know what comp means. I assume it means compensation, but if you mean computer, basically tell it to act like a real estate expert, and then start asking it questions for what you need. There's also, if you pay for ChatGPT, it's $20 a month for the plus version, you get this new thing called Code Interpreter, which, holy crap, Code Interpreter's insane. You can upload up to 100 megabyte file to Code Interpreter and then start interacting with it. So you could put up 100 megabytes worth of real estate data, upload it to this thing, and start interacting with it. I don't know what you're looking for, but like, find me, I assume maybe you mean comps, comparisons. Yeah, so you could say, take data of, here's all the houses on the market, find me any comps in neighborhoods that are similar to this one, and it will go find them. So check out Code Interpreter. I can show it to you here in a bit. Remember, VCRs, no one was going to be allowed to record television shows. Lawyers, yeah, baby. Yeah, exactly. This is the thing that's amazing about every time these new technologies hit the market, it's identical every time. The established professions are like, this is awful, it's going to replace everyone, everyone's going to die. And then the lawyers are like, we'll sue them, we'll block it, we'll stop innovation, we'll uninvent it. And it never happens. It's the same every single time. Now, the speed with which this is coming and the depth of impact of this is going to eclipse probably anything we've ever seen, shy of things like fire, printing press, steam engine. It's big like that. So we ain't stopping it. But it's going to be messy for a while, because just fear and disruption and things like that. So why this channel exists, I want everyone here to get curious about this stuff. If you haven't played with it yet, if you're sitting on the sidelines like, well, I heard it's not all that accurate, or, the robots are going to kill us, I'll just give it 3 years and see what happens. Don't do that. Don't be that person. If you go learn this stuff and then decide, I hate it and I'm going to disengage from it, more power to you. But don't just sit on the sidelines and assume that you've got time, because I don't think we do. We don't have time. It's coming very, very fast, very, very fast, and I don't know that we're prepared for it. Remember microwaves? I could have been rich. I know. I got a bunch of those. If you're on the planet long enough, you've got one of those. Oh, I thought of that 3 years before they did. Here we are. I mean, that's the other scary thing about this technology is it's going to be trivial to replicate a piece of software. Trivial. So someone comes up with something novel and interesting, anyone's going to be able to go, give me an app that does that. Oh, and by the way, make it look like that too. And come up with an interesting name for it. And change everything so the words are different, but it does exactly the same thing. So that's going to be happening as well. Are we going to get sued for writing books with the help of AI? I don't think you're going to get sued for it. I think if you want to copyright it, you're going to need to prove that your contribution to it was significant enough that it's copyrightable. But that's even up in the air. Sarah Silverman just brought a multi-million-dollar lawsuit to OpenAI saying they trained ChatGPT on her written material. And right, so if she wins that, then everyone who's ever written anything is going to do the same kind of lawsuit. So I don't think it's going to. This is going to be not dissimilar to what happened in the 90s with sampling music and hip hop. But the difference here is, in the 90s when you're sampling music, you were literally copying and pasting the beats from someone else's song and putting that in your song. This generative AI stuff is not doing that. It's the metaphor is closer to, this machine went to college and it learned all the stuff. So if you went to college and you learned all about a particular kind of writer, right? And then you went out into the world and you started writing and you were so inspired by that writer, you kind of wrote like that writer. Well, that's still your writing. It's just you're taking your knowledge of all the stuff you learned, and the filter that happens to sound right to you is writing that sounds like they're writing. That's not their writing. So it's more like that. But copyright holders are still going to sue. They're going to say, hey, you trained on my stuff. You're making money on that. But then I would go to, what percentage of the words on all of the public internet are Sarah Silverman's? It's probably a very small percentage. And then what percentage of that ended up in the thing that you wrote where you said, write me a joke about something? It's not copying and pasting her joke and putting it in there. If it were doing that, then I'd say there's a much bigger issue. But she's just part of the contributing corpus of knowledge that when you say, write me a joke, it's probably pulling as much from Jim Gaffigan as it is from Sarah Silverman. She would probably be offended by that, which is cool. Taylor Swift is going to have a lot of fodder for songs, AI plagiarism. Yeah. Well, and there's really interesting stuff. There's Elon Musk's ex-wife or girlfriend. She said, sample my voice all you want. Just give me 50%. So I think some people are going to go the route of, I'm going to sue your ass, and other people are going to go the route of, we're not stopping this thing, so just use it and compensate me fairly. And I think in the end, that's where we'll end up, is people will create models to say, okay, here's the official Taylor Swift model, where if you want to create songs that sound like Taylor Swift, you click on this link, and then every song that you generate, Taylor gets a nickel. And if your song, starts to make money on streaming services, then Taylor gets 50% or some shit like that. So those systems will be created. And by the way, one of the things I've been doing on these lives is talking about, okay, here's a business idea. So there's a business idea. Create a thing that allows artists to opt in to create their officially licensed model, to let other people generate on that, and build that system, make it really easy for artists to do that. I'm sure there's competition for that, but that's going to be a massive fucking business, because So the current copyright thing is after something is published, right? Depending on the usage, that's where we're going to charge you money, right? After. So everyone's out here arguing about the after. You took my copywritten material, you trained your model, and more shit's getting out in the world, and they're all worried about usage and after the fact. I think there's money to be made on the front end of this. Let me take all those songs, put them into an official model. So if Disney does this, right? They're not doing it now, but they could do this. And I would be surprised if they didn't. You want something that looks like Mickey Mouse in your whatever the hell you want to do. Wouldn't it be amazing to be able to click on the officially licensed Disney model that says you can generate from this, and if you use it, here's what it costs you. So you can do original work that's officially Disney licensed. Maybe they have to approve it, whatever. Left you brain. I don't know what that means, left you brain. You guys are weird with the English tonight. It's like I see words I recognize, but when I put them together, they make no sense. Welcome, everybody. If you're these here URLs, why are they here? Because if you haven't played with ChatGPT, that first URL is ChatGPT. Go there right now. Start playing while you hear me ramble, or just leave. And then Bing.com is also ChatGPT. If you click on the chat button at Bing.com, that's ChatGPT-4 connected to the internet. And then Poe.com's got 6 different ChatGPT-like things you can play with, plus a lot of bots. Poe's kind of fun. There's a lot to play with there. Just go start playing. Go start understanding what these things are all about. And then prompts.chat, if you're intimidated by like just the blank box, like what do I do here? Prompts.chat will teach you about prompting and interacting with these things and getting some interesting results out of them. So that's what this channel's all about. And if you've got questions about AI, pop them in the comments. I do my best to answer all of them. Why does it say Poe.com when it's an app? Because it's also a website. You can go to Poe.com. But you can also get the Poe app. But they're basically the same thing. So if we go to Poe.com, so there's Poe.com. And so you've got your different models. You've got your different models here, and then you have a bunch of bots, and you can explore bots. You can create a bot. Come on, focus. All right. Anyway, so that's why. Do you listen to AI? Oh, to the All In podcast with Jason Calacanis? Yes, I do. I know Jason from the Silicon Alley days, the early days of the internet, when he did Silicon Alley Reporter. I was featured in that a couple of times. Bing is terrible. Bing is actually getting better, but it is not anywhere near as good as GPT-4 at chat.openai.com. Threads hit 100 million. Hit 100 million users in 5 days. So ChatGPT is no longer the fastest adoption of technology in history. But I will argue that it's cheating to start with a 1 billion person user base of Instagram and just say, click over here to our new Twitter competitor. It's okay. Like it's missing a lot of the features. Like I want to be able to see things that people post. Like I want to be able to have followers and all that sort of shit. And I don't know. It seems a little basic right now. But people seem to be enjoying it. I'm exhausted. Like I got a fucking TikTok channel. So it's a lot. It's a lot just to have a whole nother competing place to be clever. So I don't know. I'll use Threads when if Musk flushes Twitter down the toilet and Threads takes over, I'll move there. I've got an account there. I did one post. I put up a Midjourney image. You can go see me. I'm at Kyle Shannon over at the Threads. Special K of school cereal. So why pay for Poe? Okay, here's why I pay for Poe. This is why I pay for Poe. You can choose to appreciate that. Right here. So when you go to Poe, there's 6 different models that you can play with. Sage, Claude Instant, and ChatGPT you can use for free. And then there's these 3 that say subscription access. GPT-4, Claude Plus, and Claude Instant 100K. GPT-4, you know. Claude Plus is Anthropic's version of GPT-4. It's not as good, but it's close. But this, Claude Instant 100K, that means it's a 100,000 token context window, which basically means you can have you've got a 75,000 word context window. You could put in a 60,000 word novel and have it write you an epilogue. You can start interacting with high level or like high quantity kind of data, where ChatGPT is limited to 4 or 8,000 tokens, which is about 3/4 of that is words. So that's why I pay for it, is for that. But now that ChatGPT has this code interpreter, I can now upload a 100 megabyte file and start interacting with it. So Poe all of a sudden is a lot less interesting to me, because code interpreter is a big, big deal. So if I were going to pay $20 a month, I'd pay it to OpenAI. Oh, how did panda? Best AI tool to assist with short form content for TikTok. Go learn how to prompt it. Now listen, you can go to futurepedia.io. There are tools like Jasper and Copy AI and any myriad of tools that are going to do TikTok scripts for you easily. You can go pay them. They're going to charge you whatever they're going to charge you, 20, 30, 40 bucks a month. What almost all of those services are is someone has written the prompt for you. And I would say we're early enough and these tools are raw enough and simple enough that it would serve you to go learn how to do, have ChatGPT write short form content for you. GPT-4 is staggeringly powerful for shit like that. Like staggeringly powerful. Even 3.5 is really good, but 4 is very, very good. And so go to prompts.chat, read the sort of primers in there and some of the examples, and you'll start to get a sense of it. And then also just start to hang out, like go to the ChatGPT subreddits, start following people on Twitter that, are talking about prompting and prompt crafting. There's another TikTok maker here named Rachel Woods. She's got a newsletter called the AI Exchange. She's really good at talking about this stuff. Start following her. And I would say just get good at it, because in a very short amount of time, you'll do a prompt and say, make me a TikTok script, and you'll give it enough context and it'll do something, and you're going to do one of these. I could do that. I made it do that? Yeah. So go do that, Nicholas. Go teach yourself. Yeah, OpenAI. Chief Generative Officer. That's me, man. First one. I think. Not that it matters. Which certificate would you recommend? For generative AI? None. The certificate of hard knocks. Like, go learn this shit. Learn the concepts below it. I don't think certificates matter right now. If you want to play more on the back end side, then they're more important. Now, Google just came out with one, and was it Facebook or LinkedIn? A couple of people just came out with generative AI. I don't know if they're certificates, but they're courses. If you just want to get your head around what these things are, how they work, things like that, you can go do those. You can also go watch a bunch of the videos on my channel. Like a lot of what my early content is here's what these things are. But there's a lot of content out there. But I think what's most important right now is start using them. Go there and start playing. Get curious, get exploratory. Think of it as an adventure. Start learning it, start learning it, start learning it. All right. I identified another secret cyborg at work today. That's friggin' awesome, Kavruno. So what she's referring to there is there's a Wharton professor named Ethan Mollick, and he's... Wait, my dog is whining. Hang on. What do you want? You want out? He doesn't want to be... So Ethan Mollick is this Wharton professor that he wrote this piece a week or two ago called "Detecting the Secret Cyborgs," and the secret cyborgs are employees in organizations who are getting AI literate but not telling the organization about it, because a lot of the organizations, some of them have you can't use ChatGPT at all policies. Some of them are like, we'll fire you if you use that. Some of them are like, wow, we're taking a wait and see attitude. And then also some of the employees are like, I have dramatically increased my personal productivity here, and I don't necessarily want my boss to know about it because they're just going to expect me to do more. So you kind of have this invisible class of AI literate employees in companies that aren't dealing with this, and he's talking about they need to find a way to do that. So it sounds like Kavruno found a secret cyborg. That's awesome, and that's again why I think that it's valuable for you in an organization. If you are a secret cyborg, if you are AI literate, talk about it. Talk about it. If you're working for a place that's going to fire you for being AI literate and doesn't want to have an interesting dialogue about it and say, tell us what you know and what you think about this stuff, then they're going to get blindsided at some point, and you probably don't want to be there anyway. Which accredited institution would you recommend or learn to get a certification? Again, right now for the generative stuff like ChatGPT, I wouldn't. If you want to get into the machine learning side of things and like go work for OpenAI or Anthropic or one of these companies, then I don't know. I have a degree in acting, so you're asking the wrong guy. Stanford, MIT, start at the top and then work down. I mean, not for nothing. Stanford and MIT, they have free courses. Like, all of the universities have free courses to teach you all of that shit. Google's got courses. I'm sure Meta's got them. Stanford, MIT... It's all out there for free. So just go do that. Or if you don't have the discipline, like I don't, like I couldn't self-educate like that because I've got ADD and I'm like, I'd rather just learn it myself. Yeah, I don't know. Right now, for me, it's more important. This stuff is moving. The reason that I'm saying any sort of certificate in ChatGPT or prompting or anything like that, while it's going to give you a leg up right now, by definition, anything that they're teaching you is going to be obsolete by the time they're teaching it, because this stuff is moving fast. Like, it's moving fast. Like Code Interpreter, this thing that just came out, it's a fundamentally different way of interacting with ChatGPT. Like, I don't have my head around it yet at all. Like, I know what it does. I know that you can upload a file, and then you ask it to do shit, and it starts writing Python code and executing it to do the thing that you wanted, including, like, making you charts and graphs of the analysis of the data that's in the file that you uploaded. Okay, that's what it does, but, like, what do you actually use it for, and how would you actually use it in business? And how would I, as someone who's interested in marketing and copy and this and that, like, how can it be valuable to me? I don't know yet. I'm still trying to get my head around it. So that's the problem. If you go learn prompting, you're going to be essentially learning 3 to 6 month old stuff, because it takes a while to get a course together. And like, people have even asked me on here to do a workshop, and I'm a little reticent because I don't know what I'm going to teach that isn't going to be obsolete. So, I mean, there's some basics, and basics are fine. But I don't think it's. I think the amount of time it would take you to find a course, take the course, you could learn more on your own by a lot. Chief Disruption Officer just applied for the new position. Love it. I love using AI for emails. Yeah, it's so good for shit like that. All that low-level crap. What about Microsoft? So listen. Well, that's what Bing.com is. Microsoft. Microsoft's invested $10 billion. They've committed $10 billion to OpenAI. So they're pretty invested. They've already created GitHub Copilot. They're rolling Copilot into all of Office 365. They're rolling it into Windows. They're rolling it into all of their Azure services. They're rolling it into Dynamics. And it is the primary search tool at Bing.com is now ChatGPT. So they're all in. And I mean, I've been a Microsoft basher for decades. I hated them. And what they've done in the past 6 months has been remarkable. Like how they're incorporating this stuff and how they are fucking with Google is just entertaining. They're like gleefully fucking with Google, because they were like gum on Google's shoe for, a decade and a half. In the search game, they just couldn't make inroads. And they've got it built into the fucking operating system, and they couldn't compete with Google. And along comes little old ChatGPT, and it changed everything. And so they're all in. So I'm impressed with what they've been doing. I'm impressed with Microsoft. Might they fuck it up? Sure, they're a big company. They can drive it off a cliff like anyone. But I would say right now they're looking in a stronger position than Google currently. Wouldn't count Google out, but they're definitely on their heels. So here's the thing about Google. They fucking invented the T in GPT is transformer. Google invented it and then sat on it for 7 years. Because I think they knew that if they released something like ChatGPT, it would compete with their core product. And it is. And now they're trying to catch up. What comments is he reading? I'm very far behind. New Eurekan Queen. Okay, awesome name. I'm an ex-New Yorker. I'm living in Denver now, but I miss New York. I miss my New York, my New Eurekans. I'm just way far behind. Like, here's the deal. This is elder talk. I'm an old guy using TikTok, so there will be no twerking. And I actually try to answer all the comments, so I am very far behind on comments. So that's why it seems like I'm not actually answering them. But if you're still here, New Eurekan, know that I am. It sounds like AI is going to put the marketplace through a brutal but beautiful process. That is a beautiful way to put it. Brutal but beautiful process. Yeah. Every company and every person, every day, has the opportunity to reinvent what they do. But they don't. Why? Because change is hard, and reinvention sucks, and it means you've got to give something up, and it means you've got to flush some things down the toilet. And so I think that generative AI is going to brutally force reinvention of both people and companies, and it's going to do it quickly. And the tools are so powerful that the ability to reinvent yourself is going to be amplified and accelerated. And so I think we're going to see, once we get through the brutal phase, which my guess is it's 2 to 3 years, right? Starting now, like we're starting to see it. You're starting to hear announcements of, this company's laying off 4,500 people, or they're not gonna, they're doing a hiring freeze. They were gonna hire 7,500, but now they're not. They're gonna focus on AI. So I think it's going to be a 2 to 3 year brutal patch, but I think the renaissance of creativity and innovation that comes out the other side of it is going to be beautiful. Brutal but beautiful process. I love the way you say that. Chief Super Alignment Officer. Yeah, oh, by the way, OpenAI for the alignment division, for that super alignment thing that they're talking about, they're hiring. The base salary for anyone in that group is $400,000. That's starting salary. You can make money with ChatGPT. So let me get this straight. I just got to get the robot not to kill the people? Yep. And you give me 400 grand for that to start. Yep. Go learn about alignment. Start talking about it on LinkedIn. Have a theory. Go watch David Shapiro on YouTube. You want to feel intellectually sketchy? Go watch David. He's one smart motherfucker. He's written 5 books on this stuff. And he's got his last 3 or 4 videos are all about alignment and about OpenAI's super alignment and what's good about it, what's bad about it. He's brilliant. Yeah. You want to get into this business? Save humanity. It pays well. Also, if you're geeky, I'd get involved with David Shapiro's open source projects. I think that is probably time well spent. If for no other reason, you're going to learn a shit ton. FR, what and where are people learning? Well, the what they're learning is what these things are and what they can do. They're also learning about image generation, so Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, Adobe Firefly, DALL-E, those tools are the picture equivalent of these words. Then if you go to futurepedia.io, there's a whole other suite of technologies around video generation, audio generation, text to audio, music synthesis, music generation, things like that. He's on some other stuff. I'm on your stuff now, New Eureka Queen. I'm on you. I'm here for you. Ask a question. I'll get to it eventually. But then you gotta hang out. Maybe you know what? It just hit me. It's a fucking brilliant strategy. If you know that eventually I'll get to your question, you'll hang out longer. Huh? Like a steel fucking trap. All right. People are moving more motivated by fear than desire of gain. Yeah, no, I agree. People will do way more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. And so what this channel is about is, well, the pain's fucking coming, so why don't you start now and disrupt yourself before you get disrupted? I guess that's probably where my philosophy is right now. I want to learn as much as I can about this. One, because it excites me. Like the potential of what's coming in the future is really fucking exciting. For me, it looks really bright. But I also know this shit's going to fuck up my current company's an 11-year-old automated video storytelling platform called Storyvine. This stuff's going to fuck it up. And I've got to reinvent it before it gets reinvented for me. So that's where I want to be in these conversations. I want to be on the front end of the reinvention, not being forced into it. And that's where I think the pain's going to be the highest, is people that are like, I've got 3 years. I'll get to it. So yeah, I totally agree. Is one language any better than another for creating prompts? French more descriptive? I honestly don't know. That's a really good question. I think that just by the nature of the public internet, a lot of it being English, I think it probably indexes more strongly toward English. But to your point, certain languages are going to be better at certain things. I do know that you can prompt in one language and get results in another. Like it's fantastic at translation. So, but that would be an interesting experiment to play with if you've got that capacity. let's see. Not me having assuming it had a meta awareness. Oh. What kind of tripod or phone stand do you use for your lives? It's what's called a chicken foot monopod. So, let's see. Wait, can I? It doesn't matter. It's basically a stick with 3 feet on the bottom, and then a camera tilting pan head on the top, and just a phone thing. And then this little window. This is just a TikTok feature called Dual, where the back camera is on and the front camera's on at the same time. What will it do to the music industry and Grammys? Will it make movies? Yes, it will make movies. If you want to go make some movies for yourself, they are laughably bad right now, but so were Images a year ago, and now they are terrifyingly good. So that's going to be the same trajectory with video. So go to Runway ML. I think it's runwayml.com. Hang on. Let me get that for you. Yeah, runwayml.com. They've got 2 things, one called Gen 1, one called Gen 2. Gen 1, you can upload a movie and then describe a new style like claymation animation, and it'll take your clip and turn it into a claymation animation, but, with all the composition of your thing. And then Gen 2 is text to video. So you just describe a video. And I think right now it'll make a 3 or 4 second clip, and they're disturbingly bad, but so were Images a year ago. And so they're going to get really, really good. In fact, if you listen to the CEO of Stability AI, he said that the models that they're working with right now inside Stability AI, Stable Diffusion, the things that we get to play with right now, to create an image, it takes about, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that, depending on how busy it is. The models they're working with internally are generating 60 images a second. Why is that number significant? That's the frame rate of video games. 24 is the frame rate of movies. 30 frames per second is the frame rate of video. 60 is the frame rate of games, or 120, but 60 frames a second. So we are very, very quickly going to be entering a world where you can say, write me these 5 scenes, or tell ChatGPT, hey, go write me, 16 different scenes of a video, send that to the Stable Diffusion API, and then I want to watch that video. Put this kind of music behind it, put this kind of dialogue behind it. I want Tom Cruise doing the voiceover. I want Morgan Freeman doing the voiceover. And go make me that movie. And it'll just start playing. We're not that far from that. What will it do to the music industry? It transforms it in ways we can't comprehend. So if you want to see kind of the first iterations of this, just go to Twitter and look up Drake The Weeknd AI, and you'll see a song there that someone created. It was like a fan-generated song where they took The Weeknd and Drake's voice and put it in this AI-generated song. And it got like 20 million hits on Spotify, and then they took it down. And that's when Grimes, Elon Musk's ex, said, hey, you can sample me all you want. Go make as much music as you want. Just give me 50% of the proceeds, which I think is smart. But she's going to be the exception. Most artists are going to be like, I'll sue your ass. But we're quickly getting to a point where fan-generated music is going to be as good or better than the original. What do you do with that? Do you sue your fans? I worked for a guy named Gordon Pattison, who worked at New Line Cinema, and when the first Lord of the Rings came out, when it was in production, all the geeks on the internets started making fan sites, and the lawyers at New Line Cinema were like, "We're going to sue their ass." And Gordon Pattison was the guy that said, Don't sue them. Invite them to Comic-Con. He was the guy that invented social marketing for movies. I think it has to go in that direction, right? You're going to have fans creating content that sounds like you. The songs might be better than yours, and they're leveraging your likeness. And technically, they should be paying you for that, but they just did it out of love. What do you do with them? Do you sue them or do you embrace it? And what does that do to the if a fan-generated song becomes a hit, what happens? Who gets paid? I don't know. That shit's going to have to be figured out. And what's going to happen is the recording industry and the movie industries, it's happening right now with the Writers Guild with movies. Part of the reason they're on strike is you can't use AI to write screenplays without us. So you've got the most powerful writing tool in the history of mankind, and the union for the writers is saying, don't use that. I've written 7 screenplays, 7 feature-length screenplays. Like, I know that world well. Why the fuck wouldn't you use the most powerful writing tool humanity has ever seen? Well, because it's going to fucking change everything. It's going to change the economics. It's going to change the power centers. It's going to happen in music. It's going to happen in film. It's going to happen in writing. It's going to happen in the agency world. It's going to happen in the consulting world. All knowledge work, all creative work. The models are going to be decimated. Brutal but beautiful was said just before. Brutal but beautiful is coming. What's the beautiful? I don't know. We come out the other side. I mean, imagine a world where we each get to have our own radio station that is music we create that sounds like our favorite music. How do you comprehend that? I mean, there's a Spotify playlist, sure. But what if that Spotify playlist is all stuff that you created? They're singing about, Taylor Swift is singing about your personal issues. Why is that a bad thing? That's fucking staggeringly beautiful. What does the business side of that look like? I don't have a fucking clue. But it's a pretty remarkable possibility. Did the lawyer just straight up say that? I don't know what I said, but I'm sure he said something stupid. All right, is ChatGPT hallucination drag legal or illegal? I want to try it. Yeah, that's good. It's just, drug legal. Yeah, the hallucination drug. It's, it basically, hallucination is a fancy word for it. It's just ignorant of what it said. I'll explain how the hallucination works. It's actually fascinating. So Andrej Karpathy, who's the CTO of OpenAI, he was talking to the Microsoft Developer Conference, and he was talking about why these large language models hallucinate, and like what's going on. So the metaphor I like to think is, so imagine the Grand Canyon is full of all the words that were on the public internet. So everything that OpenAI has been trained on, right? The large language models. And if you're in a helicopter and you're high enough, you can see down all the canyons in the Grand Canyon. You can see all the words. So if you say to ChatGPT, solve this mathematical equation, and you're really high in the helicopter, it's going to see all of the places where that mathematical equation was solved. And in that data set, you're going to have the Stanford mathematics professor that got it elegantly right, and you're going to have all of the students from all of the universities who got it devastatingly wrong. All of that's going to be in the data set. So when you say solve this mathematical equation, your helicopter is really high up. It sort of takes all those answers, amalgamates them, and gives you an answer. It says, here's your answer. And you're like, that answer is comically bad. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry I got that wrong. Here's the answer. It's like, well, that's better, but you didn't add these two numbers right. Oh, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Because it's sort of amalgamating right and wrong answers. Now, if you say to ChatGPT, I want you to act like a Stanford mathematics professor that specializes in this branch of mathematics, that really understands this particular corner of the universe of this kind of equation, and I want you to solve that equation, what you've done is you've kind of flown your helicopter down in one of the little side canyons, where the information in that side canyon is only for professors of mathematics. And so it will hallucinate less because it's got less information to draw from, which is just wild. And again, all it's doing, it's just fucking remarkable, but what it's doing is predicting one word after the other to give you the answer. So your trick in prompting these tools is to give it enough context to limit the semantic universe so that you have a higher likelihood of getting what you want. That's the art, is lower your helicopter into one of the side canyons. When will it start thinking for itself? Probably within 3 years. And that paper from Microsoft where they've got a billion token context window, 750 million words. If that shit starts showing up, it maybe happens sooner than that. Sometimes it really pauses for a long time when I ask it complex questions. Generally, Angela, that's not that you asked it a complex question. Generally, it's that the servers are just slammed because hundreds of millions of people are using it. That's generally just a server load issue. Yeah. Good evening, Emilio's wife. Hope you're well. I think comp equals comparables. I got that eventually in real estate terminology. It took me a while. I was like compensation, and then, oh yeah, real estate comps. But it can do comps really well. Are prompts copyrightable? There's a site called Prompt. What the hell's it called? Prompt. PromptBase. If you go to promptbase.com, you can sell prompts. Why you would buy a prompt there? I mean, so here's the deal about prompting. Right now, prompting is really important. It isn't going to be for long. If you want to build tools, you're going to need to be good at prompting. If you just want to use these tools, a lot of this prompt crafting shit is going to drift to the background because the tools are going to start prompting themselves. If you go look at what Code Interpreter does, you upload a file. So let's say you upload an Excel file, and then you say, tell me what's in this. It writes itself its own set of instructions. It then writes itself Python applications to execute those instructions, executes that Python application, and if it gets it wrong, it says, you know what? I didn't do that right. There's another way we could attempt this. Let me try that. And it'll write another Python script and execute it. So these things are increasingly going to be self-executing, very sophisticated prompts from very minimal input. They're not there right now. So that's why learning the prompt crafting right now is valuable. But I don't know that you would need to copyright a prompt because they're so easy to just copy. But go to PromptBase, and maybe short term you could sell some. If you're really good at it and you got something slick that no one else has figured out, why not? I doubt it, Captain Lit. Is one language any better than the other for creating prompts? Oh, we talked about that one. You keep talking about that Code Interpreter. I just started installing it and using plugins today. All right, let me go show you. We'll go do a Code Interpreter thing here. if you pay for ChatGPT Plus, you get code interpreter and plugins. I'll show you how to turn them on in a second here. There's a fourth mode that used to be there that's no longer there, which is browse with Bing. It's GPT-4 connected to the internet. They fucked up, and so they had to kill it. So they'll bring it back when they fix it. But I'll show you code interpreter. If you don't see code interpreter, if you do pay for ChatGPT Plus and you don't see code interpreter, you have to turn it on. So you go to your settings and you click on beta features, and then you have to turn it on. So you have to explicitly turn on plugins and code interpreter. And then when you put code interpreter here, you can see there's a plus button here. And so that plus button is you can upload a file. So I am going to go grab... Let's grab this one. So it's imdb-tv.zip. So this is a zip file. So I'm going to say, what is in this? Question mark. So it says, let's unzip the file and inspect its contents. Okay, cool. That's cool. Well, how's it doing that? Wait, let me turn down my brightness so you can see a little bit better. Now I can barely see it. Okay. If you open these things and show the work, in order for it to open the zip file, it actually wrote a Python application. It imported libraries and wrote Python to unzip the file. So it says, it seems there was an error. The unzipped folder's name might not be IMDb. But then it did it. So it unzipped it. And then it says, okay, what's in here are the following CSV files. So mystery, sport, biographies. So this is IMDb categories, data about IMDb TV shows. These files are likely data sets related to TV series and their respective genres. Would you like to inspect the content of any specific file? Can you analyze the data across these files and visualize the trends you think are interesting in them? Question mark. Sure, to start the analysis. So now it's writing instructions. Load the CSV files into data frames. Inspect the structure of the data to understand its columns and their types. Identify interesting columns for analysis. So let's start by loading the first file. So the CSVs contain title, ID, release year, genre, cast, synopsis, rating, runtime, certificate, the age certificate of the series. Oh, that's interesting. Number of votes, and then gross revenue. Given this structure, we could potentially analyze and visualize trends related to ratings, genres, release years, certificates, and number of votes across all the files. Let's proceed by loading all the CSV files and combining them into a single data frame. So then it writes code to do that. And look, it made a little thing here. Certificate, PG-13, number of votes, revenue not available, genre mystery. So we're going to clean the release year to only include the start year of the series. Distribution. Okay, there you go. Look, so now it said, let's start by looking at the distribution of ratings across the different genres. We can do this by creating the box plot for each genre. So it figured out what chart it wanted to build. It wrote the Python code to take all the data. It colored all this. It created the box chart. It labeled it all. So this is mystery, sport, biography. So here's all the different genres down here. So here's some sort of scatter chart that doesn't look like it had good data. So that was a bad piece of data, it looks like. This is number of series released per year per genre. And, 1920, there was not much TV released. And then 60s, 80s, 2000. So right after the 80s is when cable comes in and you start to see it increasing. And then now we're in streaming and, all of this stuff. And this thing's going to continue to go exponential because of all the content that's going to be created by AI. But anyway, what was our input here? Our input here was 2 or 3 requests, and it just went off and is doing full-on data analysis across all of the CSV files within this one zip file. So that's what Code Interpreter is. Now, what can you use that for? I don't know yet. You can upload images and pull out color palettes out of it. You can swap images. You can turn a static image into an animation with a zoom and a pan. You could upload tax information. You could upload insurance information. Start interacting with it. I think something interesting I might do is throw all the screenplays I've written, plus all of the fragments of screenplays I've started, which there's probably 20 or 30 of those, put them all in a zip file and upload that, and then be able to ask it about anything that I've written and have it write me new shit that follows my style. What would that do? I don't know. I mean, I could have it compare plot lines across screenplays and say, what are things that my screenplay structures have in common? Would that be valuable? I don't know, maybe. It might. It might inspire me to tell a new story. I might be able to take a fragment of a screenplay and say, hey, you've got 7 complete ones here. You've got 4 fragments. Which of the fragments seems most... thank you very much. I appreciate that. Which of the fragments seems the most interesting to you? And let's go ahead and complete that. So give me an outline. Complete the outline so that it matches what I like to do, apparently. And then you've got 2 scenes there. Let's write the 3rd scene. I don't know. It's like I was just starting to get my head around ChatGPT and feeling like I had it together. And then Code Interpreter came out. And now I'm like right back to ground zero feeling like an idiot. What do I do with this? I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. I want a grand adventure. You should join the adventure. Go there. Go there now. If you have not played with ChatGPT, go there until you have this moment and then start your adventure. You forgot the light bulb. I don't know which light bulb you're talking about. The ticket for the train car first seat is $1, but there's another train coming for $2. And another train, but the ticket is $10. I think you're building to a point there. Or maybe that was something I was talking about. And you're adding to it. It seems right. Get on the train now. Okay, wait. So Code Interpreter can take in 100 megabytes of Excel software data. I want to give it a Word doc. Give it a Word doc. Give it a PDF. You can give it a PDF. You know how there's PDFs that have data in them and there's PDFs that are just scans that are useless? You can give it a scanned PDF and it will OCR the PDF, pull the data out of it, and throw it into a spreadsheet for you. It's fucking insane. And by the way, Code Interpreter is the worst possible fucking name for it. We talked about it last night. We're going to come up with a better name. Jumped into AI just for fun, but eventually found myself using it daily for work and personal life. Yes, Albert, that is the journey. I jumped into it just for fun, and then I realized, holy fucking shit. Did you know what this thing can do? That's the perfect evolution, Albert. It's the perfect evolution. Now I'm using it daily. And I think the evolution after that is I got an idea for something. I'm going to change how I do something. I'm going to reinvent something. I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to reinvent my job. I think this is just going to be this rolling. Everyone who starts playing with this stuff early, it's going to be a rolling set of revelations about what it makes possible. And it's going to be both invigorating and fucking terrifying. And I think that's the right, like, I keep going back to this idea of we're on an adventure. Whether we want to be on the adventure or not, it's like at night, there seems to be a dragon coming into the village and killing people. And they're like, well, who's going to go fucking deal with the dragon? And everyone's like, I don't want to deal with the dragon. And then there's like 5 people that like are having drinks one night. And they're like, you know what? I think it's just going to keep killing people. Maybe we should, you want to go find this dragon? Well, that's really scary. Yeah, but you're strong and you're good with a bow and arrow and you can do those magic spells. Maybe we should, you want to? All right. You know. And then little cousin Lucy's eaten by the dragon the next night, and they're like, fuck it, we're going. I feel like that's where we are with this stuff. So those kind of adventures are terrifying, and they're inspired. And you can't do them alone. And you figure out who's the secret hero. And you figure out who's not. That's where we are. So yes, Albert, that feels very right to me. How are they making money from it? You can make money with ChatGPT. Not from those assholes. So here's the deal about AI and these tools. Is they're just tools. Now, they happen to be the most powerful tools in the history of humanity, so, you know, I'm not diminishing the value of them, but they're just tools. So how you make money with tools is you solve problems. And so what I say a lot is, so how people are making money with them right now is they're learning these tools well enough that they can teach other people how to use them. So they're doing consulting, they're doing workshops, they're building automations for people. They're saying, hey, I can make, you've got a social media agency, I can build you a tool that will automatically generate tweets and posts and this and that. All you have to do is put in the topic and answer a question or two and it'll generate all that for you. You want me to make one of those for you? Sure. Okay. What, do you want me to deliver that by Friday? You can do that? Yeah. Here you go. Here's your tool. That's fucking remarkable. Yeah, I know. Do you want to learn how to do that? Yeah, okay, pay me this money to, you know, so that's how people are making money right now. And then it comes down to, what are you good at? So, no name. Coming up with clever names is apparently one of them. But, you know, so you've got writing skills, or you've got project management skills, or you're good at coding, or you're good at illustrating. It doesn't matter. Like, what is the thing you're good at? And then I would say, take what you're good at, what you're passionate about. Ideally, those things are decently aligned. If they're like this, well, that sucks sometimes. Sometimes you got to pay the bills, right? But take the things where you've got competence, and ideally where you've got some passion, and then start applying these tools to that stuff. Learn how AI can make what you do in project management better, faster, stronger, cheaper. And then start putting it out in the world and say, hey, I figured out a better way to do project management. You want to pay me for that? And that could look like a software application. That could look like an agency. That could look like consulting. So you solve problems. And then these are just the tools. So the trick is you got to get competent enough with the tools to understand what the fuck they are in the first place, and that's almost impossible because it changes every 3 months. But start now. Like if you're feeling like, holy shit, am I behind? You don't think I feel like 1,000% inadequate to deal with something as powerful as code interpreter? I don't know anything about data analysis. I have a degree in fucking acting, and even though I've been kind of tech, in the tech periphery, I've innovated on the sort of boundaries of technology for years. That's significantly beyond my current capabilities, but it's going to change the fucking world. So why would I not play with that? So I'm going to go through the pain on the adventure of walking through the swamp with all the snakes and the leeches, thinking that I might drown or die or go in quicksand, to get on the other side of it. Because I know on the other side, if I can get my head around what code interpreter is, I can do some fucking remarkable shit. We all can. We all will. I just want to be there first. Well, no, not first. I want to be there. I want to be in the party that slays the dragon. And I think that party is entering the forest right now. I think this shit gets boring. Like 5 years from now, when all this shit's figured out, and we're back to like grinding out the social media post for whatever the fuck SEO looks like 5 years from now. It ain't gonna look like what it looks like today, I'll tell you that. I'd like to see AI do mashups. It can do all sorts of mashups. Figure out which ones you want them to do and go find the tools and start doing it. How do they control bias in AI? They do it through a combination of improving the training data that they put in the base model. They improve it doing the fine-tuning of how they get it from that base model to something usable. Right now with OpenAI, it's done with human reinforcement learning. I think increasingly it'll move to machine-mediated. So if you're interested in this stuff, go look up a company called Anthropic that's got a model called Claude. They're a bunch of ex-OpenAI people, and they got this thing called the constitutional learning model, where they basically write a set of rules like don't hurt people, increase prosperity, make happy, whatever the heck their rules are. And then when their system generates things, it compares it against those rules. I think that's a really interesting model. What's up? Hang on. I'm like, if that's flops, that's not good.
Well, that's how it was before.
Yeah. Love you. All right. Love that. I have a beer truck side business, and I've been using AI program some things on our website. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, and I mean, you can also use AI, Albert, to do, have it come up with marketing ideas. Tell it you want to do, community events, and you want ideas for that. Describe your community, describe your business. Give it as much context as you can, and just keep kind of expanding that out. That's really awesome. I mean, and Albert, it's so I love the comments that you're making so far, because I think it's very easy to overcomplicate what you do with these tools. Like, I got to learn about machine learning and data science and this. And no. Thank you. You already know what you know. You just need to learn enough of these things to understand, oh, those could help me do the shit I already do better. Like, these are amplifiers of humanity, of what you want to do. So you still get to drive the train. This is just your tool. Like, the best way I can describe what ChatGPT is it's like an idiot savant, meaning it's really clueless as a human, you got to tell it everything. and it will lie, and it won't know, it won't even know that it lied. It will confidently lie. It will mansplain to you. But it's also a savant in that it knows everything. It knows all the stuff. So if you say, okay, idiot savant, I want you to act like a master marketer that specializes in food trucks, and I've got a beer truck, and I got a this, and I got a that, and this is my community. Can you come up with some ideas for me? Like, what are some ideas that aren't going to cost me a lot, but are going to drive lots of engagement and drive lots of awareness? Oh, sure. Here you go. Okay, I like 2 and 3, but the rest are horrible. Can you give me more like 2 and 3? Oh, sure. Sorry about that. So while they're remarkably powerful, they're at your service. You're the pilot, that's the co-pilot. So, yeah, love that. Love it, love it, love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Now TikTok just jumped me to the bottom, and I lost my place in the questions, and I'm a dumb. What'd you do tonight? Watch some old guy scroll through TikTok? That sounds awful. Yeah, pretty much. Someone asked if I got a haircut. Yes, I did. Thank you, Mike. Looks good, thank you. Oh, wow. I hadn't even really noticed it. It was up in the letters above. That's almost like I tried it. that's Thank you, Hair Growth Geek. Oh, good Lord. Good Lord. The hair saga at the AI Learning Lab. It's always something. Chief Fear Officer. That was a good one. Sorry, I'm still trying to find where I was. Oh, well, it's not letting me scroll all the way back. Google should have bought ChatGPT. Yeah, Google should have used the technology they invented. I said this the other night. This happened at Kodak. Hey, bosses, I just invented the digital camera. I think this is going to change everything. The bosses, how's that going to sell us more film? It's a new way of making pictures. Yeah, that's not for us. We make film. Let me give you some lessons here, little kitty. This is about the silver halide business, not about pixels. That's what Google did when they invented the transformer, apparently. So yeah, they could have bought OpenAI at some point, I suppose. But they were hiding from the technology they invented because it threatened their business model. So now Microsoft is like, fuck it, we're in. Here's $10 billion. You want to go do some damage together, Sam? All right, let's go. And off they go. I use Code Interpreter to create a vegetarian menu and ask it to make Excel sheet with ingredients. That's awesome. And then with plugins, you can take the ingredients and just have it order it, although you're in a restaurant business, so you'll get them from your wholesalers. That's awesome. All right. Okay, so I renewed my ChatGPT and installed new iOS app, but I can't find how to upload code generator. Okay, so the official OpenAI ChatGPT app doesn't have all the features. So what I do on my phone is just go to Safari or Chrome, depending on the device you're on, and go to chat.openai.com and log in there. Now in your settings, you're going to have to turn on the beta features to make sure it's available. So either on a laptop, go to that site, or on your phone, go to that site, and then you'll be able to see Code Interpreter. Code Generator is so new that Google doesn't know what I'm talking about when I ask for help. I know, Angela. I know. That's where we are right now. I think how steady and consistent you, but I feel bad because I don't know you would get to all the comments. Oh, yeah. Well, you don't need to feel bad. That's just the nature of how I do this, is I just read all the things. You don't need to feel bad at all. I wish I could read faster and talk less, but this is how I talk. I make words come out of my mouth in a row. I'm like ChatGPT. You can make money with ChatGPT. Just like life, beautiful and brutal. The brutal and beautiful, yeah, brutal but beautiful. That's what we're at the beginning of. And what's fascinating about it is, there's a couple of things going on that I find really fascinating. I think because blockchain and NFTs were overhyped and then crashed and burned dramatically, I think there's a reticence to, this is just another hype train. So let me get this straight. Last year it was NFTs. We're all going to get rich on NFTs. And this year it's AI. That's how it's going? Yeah, that's good. So you got that. And then you've got 50 years of Hollywood telling us the robots are going to kill us. And then you've got a tool that got to 100 million users in 6 weeks that is profoundly powerful, where enough people are using it and discovering its power. Like Albert, I just started playing with it, and all of a sudden now I'm using it for real shit. That we're in this kind of weird, confusing place right now. But man, is it coming. Brutal, but beautiful. Any recommendations for books? Not on this shit. Well, there's probably lots of books if you want to understand machine learning and neural networks and transformers and weights and embeddings and vector databases and all that sort of shit. If you want to be on the science side of this, there's probably lots of books. I don't know that world at all. I'm on the other side of the inflection point. Let's just call it post-ChatGPT, where it's about applying these remarkable tools to what we do day to day. If there are books on that shit right now, I wouldn't buy them because they're by the time you could even do a print on demand book right now for this generative AI shit, it's going to be obsolete. I was pert near an expert at content generation engines using Zapier and GPT 3.5, and now they're deprecating 3.5. You've got to go to 4 or 3.5 turbo, which acts different, and you've got to prompt it different. And then along comes Code Interpreter, which is a completely different paradigm and is probably closer to what this thing looks like in the future anyway. And I don't even think there's API access to it yet. So it's like just everything's changing. Everything's changing all the time. And like we're on, it's funny in when you listen to VCs talk, they're looking for what they call the hockey stick, where revenue for a company is like 0 or going along like this, and then all of a sudden it goes like that, or adoption goes like that. What's happening with these tools right now is that's happening with innovation, where the innovations have hit this exponential curve where these things are getting more and more and more powerful exponentially. And we as humans don't have a good way of understanding exponential growth. So it took me 4 months. So I've got a company that I've been building for 11 years. I know that thing fucking cold. I know what it's good at. I know what it's bad at. I know how to position it. I know generally how to sell it, although I wish I were better at that. But I know it cold. It took me 4 months as I started learning this AI stuff to even get them like this. Like, not even like this. Like, it took me 4 months to just have it not be a completely foreign concept. And then over those 4 months, as I learned it more and more, I'm like, oh, okay, so wait, this piece of what that does, that applies to this piece of what we do. And then, like, I'm now at the point where I can kind of see the future of my company with this AI stuff. Based on what I learned in February, now I take something like Code Interpreter, and it's like right over here. So now I've got this vision of my company that's based on February technology. And here's Code Interpreter. I'm like, I don't even fucking understand what it is, much less how it relates to my business or to what I do. So there's no books. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's probably lots of books, right? Because this thing can write books really quick. In fact, I talked to a guy at an event. He's like, hey, I published 12 books in the past 3 days. And I'm like, oh, good God. Really? He was so proud of it. They had covers and titles and self-published, and he had them printed out, and you could look at them and hold them. He's like, yeah, you just tell it to write a book, and it writes a book. I'm just publishing them. Well, so I'm fucking exhausted. So yeah, there's lots of books. There's no books I would recommend. 400,000, where's starting? Starting at OpenAI. So if you go to the openai.com/blog, look at their article for super alignment. That's a new group that Sam Altman is dedicating 20% of their compute resources to making sure that their AI models are aligned with human goals or rights. And that group, the starting salary, if you get a job in that group, is $400,000. This 56-year-old guy had fun blowing the mind of a 20-year-old with introducing ChatGPT to them. Yes. Fucking Gen Xers. I'm telling you, man, this AI shit is revenge of Gen X. We're going to come out of the shadows because we know how to use computers. Like, we know how to fucking use computers. We started some shit. And we're going to get good at this. And with 30 years of life experience plus these tools, we're going to be able to fuck some shit up and blow some 20-year-olds' minds. I like it. That's solid. That's great. Oh, wait, you're going so fast. Go where for image, video, music? Oh, sorry. The very bottom URL is called futurepedia.io. That's a directory of like 4,000 AI-generated tools. So here's where I am philosophically with all these tools. The only things I'm really paying attention to right now are ChatGPT and variations of it, and some of the image generating tools, because I like doing the images. So Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, Adobe Firefly. All of the other shit, text to video, the music stuff. I'm doing a little bit of voice synthesis stuff. I'm doing a little bit of video stuff for my business, but just kind of on the periphery. There's so many tools out there. There's tools that you describe an app and it will design an app for you and put the files in Figma. There's ones that'll do that for websites. There's ones that'll take a website and extract the design out of it and build you a whole Figma design library. There's things that write songs. There's things that, like, I can't keep up with the tools. So that's futurepedia.io is like 4,000 tools, most of which are bullshit, right? But there's probably 400 in there that are like earth-shatteringly powerful. So that's why I have that there, because I don't fucking know. I can't keep my head around ChatGPT. You can make money with ChatGPT. Chief Fear Officer. Does an acorn grow after being cracked into an oak tree? Yes, it does. That's why I'm here every night just waiting for Mr. Shannon to answer my question. See, I answered your question, Emilios. That's right. It's all it's a dastardly strategy to get y'all to hang out here longer. I like it. All right, what are the best image programs? Midjourney. I've tried repeatedly to generate specific images, but it never works. Okay, Angela. So Midjourney is the one, in my opinion, that is the most sophisticated and best. Stable Diffusion is the one that is the most flexible and has the most developers developing things for it. But you need to be geeky to use it. There's a tool called Leonardo.ai that's built on top of Stable Diffusion. Oh, this is a good note I got from my TikTok. Leonardo.ai, you have to get on a wait list. But I heard last night from someone in my comments, If you get on Leonardo's wait list and go join their Facebook group, they'll give you instant access to Leonardo. So Leonardo's an incredibly well done website that sits on top of Stable Diffusion. So you don't need to do all the geeky stuff. So go do that. I would also play around with Adobe Firefly. Their generative tools, if you've got access to the Adobe suite, play with Adobe Firefly, and then play with generative fill within Photoshop, because that's really good as well. So those three are the three that I would play with. You can go to Bing.com and just tell it to create an image, but that's built on top of DALL-E, which is the weakest of all the image models. So if you want to see something generated poorly, go there. If you want to see something good, Midjourney or Leonardo. And then it's worth understanding the Adobe products because they're commercially safe. John Henry drilled a 14-foot hole into a rock, but the steam engine was only able to drill 9. That seems like something I should look up on ChatGPT. You too can learn the history of the steam engine with ChatGPT. That's awesome. Is ChatGPT knowledge standardized across languages? That means other cultures can influence the West. Yes. It knows all the languages. It knows all the computer languages. It knows all the languages. I did something from English. What did I do? English to Dutch, to Japanese, to Portuguese, back to English, and I could still read it. It knows languages, and yeah, I agree. And that's the other thing. Google just announced 2 weeks ago or something like that, one of their new real-time translation models is going to do 1,100 languages. I didn't know there were 1,100 languages to translate. Again, we're probably within a year, maybe 2, of being able to speak in English with someone else who's a native French speaker. I'll speak in English. They'll hear me in French, in fluent French, sync to my lips. They'll respond in French. I'll hear them in English. That's coming. It'll start out for like the top 8 languages, and then it'll quickly go to 100, and then it'll quickly go to 1,000, and then it'll quickly go to you can speak with people in made-up languages. It's like, I don't know. So yes, I think, and I think your point, Angela, that what this tool actually kind of does, it's kind of a mirror that reflects humanity. So I think this is going to build bridges. I think it's going to build empathetic bridges, and I think it's going to build cultural bridges where we learn we're all kind of the same. And this will become the Babelfish kind of cultural language humanity translator and amplifier. I think it's very much got that possibility in its future. You just got up to the first comment from like an hour ago. I know. It made no sense without context. I know. Most of my words make no sense and have no context. So that's part of the joy of the channel. Wait, I sat here for 2 hours for that? Uh-huh. You did. All right. Do you think you'll be able to take a screenplay and produce a film all on your own at some point? Yeah, and I don't even think you'll need the screenplay, quite frankly. I did an experiment. What was it with? It was just with, was it ChatGPT? Yeah. I did an experiment where I said, take the structural plot elements of Star Wars and write me a screenplay outline of an animated movie of animals on the Galapagos Island at the time of Charles Darwin, and basically follow the plot of Star Wars. And it was fucking brilliant. So I think you're not even going to need to start with the screenplay. I think you can say, I want to see something that has the dramatic arc of, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the comedic stylings of Caddyshack, starring The Simpsons, with a soundtrack by David Bowie. And it's going to generate that. Now, that's not going to be for some time, but maybe within 5 to 10 years. So I think the stepping stones to that are going to be, take this movie and change the ending, or take these two movies and combine. I want these actors in that movie, and I think that kind of stuff is going to be coming soon. I'm scared. So scared is good, as long as it goes with curiosity and a sense of adventure. Don't let the fear just have you sit back and not engage, because it's really easy to dismiss this stuff as either evil and bad and the robots are going to kill us, or as, well, it's not perfect, it makes mistakes, I asked it to give me something and it sucked. Don't dismiss it because of that. This stuff is as bad as it's ever going to be. And it's fucking remarkable. But it's as bad as it's ever going to be. It only gets dramatically better from here in terms of its capability. So being scared's okay. We're entering a brutal but beautiful transition. And being scared, I feel like, is an appropriate response to this. Looks like we have a bunch of new people here. My name's Kyle Shannon. This is the AI Learning Lab. Welcome, everyone. I ramble for hours, and that's what this channel's about, apparently. The URLs on screen right now, these are... The top one is the official ChatGPT website. If you haven't gone there, please go there. Just go there. And if you don't know what to do there, prompts.chat, this thing down here, is a little primer that will tell you about what prompting is and how these things actually work. And it'll give you a whole bunch of ideas of things that you can tell that to do. Like, act like a screenwriter, act like an accountant, act like a therapist, act like a coach. And it will just go off and do that. And you owe it to yourself to use that long enough for you to have this moment. And once you have that moment, then you should be hooked. And like Albert in here, you can start out and say, well, I was just dicking around with it, and now I'm using it every day to run my business. It's like, yeah. Now I'm going to reinvent my business. Now I'm going to reinvent myself. All right. Deluxe Random. AI only creates from the past. I disagree. I mean, you could argue that humans only create from the past. We create from what we have learned. And then you can say, well, we've got imagination. We create original new stuff. If you use these things with, any level of depth, these things create. Now, it might be assimilating what it does from different places, but by me prompting it to give me something new, I want you to combine this concept with that concept. I want it to be structured like this. Go. Out it comes. That's a new construct that's never existed before. So, did it create it? Did I create it? I prompted it. It's my intention to combine this with that with that. It just happened to do it like that. And it happened to have the knowledge of all the past to be able to do that, but it actually created something new. So I actually disagree with that. I think all of what humanity does, to some degree, is based on the past, right? It's all language that we created in the past. All meaning, all of what we do, all words, were invented by someone else that's dead now. Says this. And then fans are going to want artists to sing songs of them that they didn't make. And the fans are going to be able to make that song. That's that was my point on that thing. That's right. Fans are going to want those songs, and fans are going to make those songs. And some of those songs are going to be better than the artist's songs. And I guarantee you there's going to be a hit song created by a fan that sounds like an artist that's going to be bigger than the artist's biggest hit. Mark my words. I think we'll see that within 2 years. And then what do? Do you sue the fan? Because the fan has a bigger hit that sounds like you than you do? Or do you invite the fan out on tour and give them backstage passes and encourage other fans to make more? I don't know. Brutal, but beautiful. Brutal, but beautiful. I love that. Hey, Kyle, what's the first policy a company should have about ChatGPT? That's a good one. I mean, it's a good question. I don't have a good answer. Well, it's a really good question. I think the first policy is they should aggressively encourage everyone in the company to understand what this stuff makes possible, combined with understanding the risks that the risks of using it, right? So, okay, we want you to use ChatGPT, but while we're all learning it, you can't put any client data in it, and you can't put any of our trade secrets in it, but you can put recipes in it, and you can put little project management stuff in it, but, right? So I think you need to find some boundaries. Like, until we have a security and privacy policy around this stuff, and until maybe we've created our own standalone server that's got its own firewall so that we're confident that our data is safe, you can't do anything. But in the meantime, let's learn about this. Let's learn about it together. Let's have weekly lunch and learns where someone who learns something new. We did this at agency.com in the early days. We had these things called geek and tells, like show and tells. And what a geek and tell was someone would geek out on something. They'd learn something new with the early, web technology. And then they'd go, oh, I'm having a geek and tell. And people would gather around their computer and they'd show them how they did it. And then everyone would go, oh, that's great. And they'd run back to their desks and they'd go do that. And they'd go play with it. So I think having both management and staff in an organization get AI literate aggressively, and do it in a way that encourages individuals to share ideas, and have management and the executive team be open to those ideas, because some of those ideas might look like a challenge to the current business model. And if an individual says, oh, I've got an idea, and they put something out there that's a challenge to the business, and one of the executives chops their head off for it, no one will ever speak up ever again, right? So that's a cultural thing. So I think getting aggressive about learning, but then also learn enough to understand data and privacy risks and make sure to mitigate those. So I don't know if that's a good answer or not. That's where I'd be. Sarah Silverman suing OpenAI. She is. That's correct. Social marketing is evolving thanks to AI. Social marketing is evolving for sure. A new monetization strategy is needed to stay ahead. Absolutely. Brutal, but beautiful. Yes. Imagine an unlimited supply of music from a deceased artist. Oh, that's coming. That's absolutely coming. In fact, here's a business. I keep giving business ideas away. Take them, run with them. Start a label that is nothing but new music from artists who've passed or are no longer making music at different eras of their life. Young Elvis, Vegas Elvis, bloated Elvis. Yeah, exactly. The lawsuit claims the three authors did not consent to use the use of their copyrighted books. Yep. Again, lawsuits are going to be everywhere. Whether or not it's going to be really interesting to see where the sort of fair use and all of the laws that emerged out of the hip hop fair use stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how they get leveraged and how they evolve. But none of this stuff's getting uninvented, and the open source LLMs are going to, anything that happens to OpenAI, it's just going to squeeze through the cracks and migrate over to the open source LLMs. So none of this stuff's stopping. GPT isn't good enough to write scripts yet. You can. I've gotten it to absolutely give me good outlines. I've gotten it to give me dialogue that's probably 60% there, but it's at least a first draft. Screenplay stuff, I can usually get it to about 80% of finished work. So 60% ain't bad. I mean, you have to do a lot of back and forth with it, and a lot of collaborating, you can give it examples. Here's an example of a scene, that I wrote, so follow that tone, follow these characters. I reckon business will shift to a more intellectual property based than content. Possibly, yeah. I think businesses shift to what becomes more and more critical is critical thinking, strategy, the why. Why are we doing this? What are we trying to accomplish? And then the tools will do all the tactical execution. Mix Tiesto with Elvis songs, that would be cool. First industrial revolution destroyed physical labor. Now this destroys creative labor and knowledge work. Yes, correct. But it also will generate entire new categories of jobs we can't even imagine today. So, again, the brutal, beautiful part. The brutal is the disruption in the next 2 to 3 years is going to be brutal. The reemergence of whatever the new jobs are and whatever the new prosperity is when our ability to produce accelerates dramatically without an increased need in labor. It's brutal initially because that looks like people that are displaced, but ultimately this starts to look like increased prosperity and new ways of doing work and new ways of doing all sorts of things. All right, my butt's starting to get numb. That means it's been at least 2 hours. So, and it's 10:30 here in Denver. 10:24. Do you know where your children are? Listen, you and me, we gotta talk. What do you do on these TikTok lives? I don't know. I just talk to my phone. Why do you do that? I don't. There's people there. Do they talk to you? Sorta. Why do they watch you? I don't know. It seems dumb. Yeah. Oh, it's dumb. It's dumb. It's a dumb. All right. Carry on. All right. Let's see. Wait. Alibaba Cloud unveils Tanji Wanxing, an AI image generation model. Oh, cool. That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting we haven't seen kind of a major OpenAI type player come out of China yet. So maybe we'll see like a Mid-Journey kind of thing. Alibaba Cloud. Okay, I'll look that up. That's interesting. Haircut? Yes, thank you. Damn, we gone. Can I write a plugin and deploy it internally for private use? Well, sort of. So I don't know about the plugins themselves. I think those have to go into the plugin store, but the GPT 3.5 Turbo API now has function calling. So basically you can describe a set of functions within your code. You can describe 20 functions, and then the chatbot will dynamically know which of the functions to call based on your prompt. which is essentially plugins. So yeah, look up function calling, and the answer is yes. Elton in Harlem. That's a cool name. Does AI learn and retain my prompts to assist other people's future prompts? Sort of. You can tell it not to, but you lose your prompt history, so make sure you download your data. I don't think I don't think it's so much the prompts. It's the combination of the prompt and response, and like if you give it thumbs up, they're using what you're doing to train the model. But it's not like they're taking your prompt and saying, "Hey, someone else, you were talking about this. Want a prompt someone else wrote?" It's not like that. It's just more like they're improving the response accuracy based on the work everyone's doing. Is there a way to use an AI tool to find or remove malware? Probably, but I don't know. I would go to futurepedia.io and look up security and things like that. There will be ways to use AI to do that. A lot of the malware detection tools are probably already using AI. Don't forget, AI's been around for 2 or 3 decades, and it's been, powerfully integrated into almost everything we do for the past decade. So this stuff is just kind of a layer sitting on top of a lot of those core technologies that are already there. What plugin is this? I think I was showing Code Interpreter, which is the new mode. It is a plugin, but it's way more than a plugin. So what Code Interpreter is actually doing, this is freaking wild. And I'm wondering if your ChatGPT chat session is already this, but I just didn't get it before. What Code Interpreter is doing is when you launch a Code Interpreter chat session, it's basically spinning up a virtual computer. And then when you ask it to do stuff, it writes code and then executes the code within your virtual private server, executes the code, generates stuff, saves it to the virtual memory or hard drive, and gives you results. And so you're basically interacting with a dynamically generated computer that dynamically writes and executes code on your behalf. It's fucking nuts. What in zip file? That's crazy. So fast too. Yeah. I think you can have anything in the zip file. You can have hundreds of files. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put PDFs of my screenplays into a zip file. Plus, I've probably got like word outlines. I've probably got all sorts of things. I'm going to put it in a zip file and then just have it go read what's in the zip file and then start interacting with it. I don't know. So many subscriptions to pay for. I've limited mine to, right now I have OpenAI, Poe, Midjourney, Google Colab, Zapier, and I'm probably going to get rid of Poe because Code Interpreter, I can now do long form stuff with Code Interpreter. So I'm going to probably get rid of Poe. Those are my biggies right now. I don't think you need more than that. What AI am I using? That I just mentioned them. Have it check for plot holes. That's a great idea. Or plot cliches or dialogue cliches. I worked with a screenwriter once, and whenever he didn't know what to write, he used the word look. So it'd be like 2 people would be talking and there'd be an awkward pause, and then the one character would go, "Look, I want to tell you this." And whenever he used the word look, I knew it was shitty dialogue because that was his like crutch. And ever since working with him, I now notice in TV shows and movies all the time, you can see a character go, "Look." And I'm like, that writer didn't know what to write right there. Use Code Interpreter to do part of the number crunching that I don't like leaving more time for what I do. Yeah, exactly. You're talking about screenplays and Code Interpreter. What do you think about personal.ai? I don't know personal.ai. Do I? Everyday messaging. Supercharge your memory and relationships with your own AI messenger. I'll check it out. Remember everything and connect every. Oh, okay. So this is something that's gonna basically add memory of who you are and what you talk about. I think there's gonna be So I think Sam Altman has said that's going to be something that's added to OpenAI is personal profiles and things like that. I think that's absolutely where we're going. I'll check that out. I haven't played with it, but that's absolutely where we're going. The ability to have it have memory of our interactions and have it trained on all of our data is a big place. How big of a CPU do you need? You don't need one. If you're using chat.openai.com, they're using Microsoft servers. Like it costs them a lot of money every time you do a search. It's like 75 cents. It's some ridiculous amount of money. If you want to run things locally, then you need, a big GPU, or you need at least an M1 Mac, ideally an M2 Mac. But if you're not, wait a year, and probably even before a year, someone is going to create an open source large language model that's the equivalent of GPT-4 that you can just install on your laptop or maybe even on your phone. So right now, to use chat.openai.com, you can do it on your phone. It's all the processing is being done in the cloud, so you don't need your own. If you want to train your own models, that's a whole different thing. Then you've got to rent a Google Colab with virtual servers and virtual GPUs, or you got to have your own Iron, or you got to buy one of George Hotz's new tiny boxes, which has 6 GPUs in it, and it costs $15,000. So if you want to spend money, you can. Sam Altman said he thinks it's going to take $100 billion to get to AGI for OpenAI. So how can it make money? You can make money with ChatGPT! Commenting on the time delay is like learning two-structure ChatGPT prompts, character limit, and context. Wow, mind blown. Honestly, is Code Generator another subscription? Code Interpreter? It's not. It's just part of GPT Plus. How do you upload? You click the plus button. Is ChatGPT a good name, and what would you name it if you were marketing and branding it? Well, at this point, ChatGPT, because it got to 100 million users so quickly, I think it effectively established its own brand. I think it's there. There's real problems with it. It's not really a chatbot. Chatbots have a really bad legacy of just being bad. And then GPT, everyone calls it GTP, GPT, PPT, so it's horrible in that sense. What would I call it? I think the inflection one, PI, is really interesting. Something like Mac, right? Like the reason Steve Jobs called the Macintosh was because the nickname was Mac. It made it informal. It made it memorable. It was 3 letters. So I think something like that. Something like Mac, something like Pi. Something that implies it's your assistant, it's your friend. Best friend Eva, something like that. But I see, I don't think ChatGPT becomes like the World Wide Web, where it's just this sort of like Xerox kind of thing. I think what's going to end up happening is the underlying technology that right now we have to go to ChatGPT, that all goes away. What it gets replaced with is agents like Pi. Or Apple's going to have one, they call them memojis right now, which is fucking horrible. But imagine the equivalent of a memoji that's just like your agent, and it looks like you, it sounds like you, it understands you, it's it knows your entire history, and then you can just tell it to go do stuff. I think the underlying technology, people aren't going to talk about it for long. I think what they're going to talk about are the agents and what the agents are doing. And then those agents are going to start virtual. And then, with Vision Pro, you'll start to have your agent in the world. And then with physical robots, you'll start to have those agents manifested in some sort of physical form. So I think the underlying technology will pretty quickly drift to the background. So ChatGPT is okay, not great. Code interpreters, fucking atrocious. It's just so bad. Magnum CI. Yeah, exactly. We were calling it Magnum CI last night. I didn't come up with that, but it's a really good one. Because it plays into the Gen X thing. We're leaning heavy into Gen X. All right. Few more questions, then I gotta go. Whoever finds the dragon may discover how to tame the dragon and use it for good. Exactly. Right? I just imagine that all the flame was coming out, it goes, and the little smoke goes. We've tamed him, or we've killed him. Yay! Let's bring him back to the village. He can be our friend. He can help us farm. All right, you won't be replaced by AI. You'll be replaced by someone who uses AI. Exactly. That's from Paul Raitzer of the Marketing AI Institute said that. That is correct. So be one of the people that learns AI. Go there, play, learn that shit. Today we celebrate the birthday of Nikola Tesla. I forgot that. Just imagine if he had AI. Holy crap. You know what would be really cool? Oh! This is something to do with Code Interpreter. Take everything you can find from Tesla, patents, any notes you've got, any books that, right? Throw that all into a zip file and upload it to Code Interpreter. And let's go discover some of the shit in Tesla's patents that haven't been discovered yet. That would be a fun one. Because one of the things that these GPT models seem to be astounding at, like the speed with which it can parse a massive spreadsheet of data is just mind-numbing. So go look at all his data. That would be fascinating. I wonder if you could even, because there were a bunch of patents of his, weren't there a bunch of patents in his apartment that the government came in and took and scurried away? I wonder if you could reconstruct some of his work through notes and, application documents and shit like that. I bet there's something there. Do you think we can figure out how to pick strawberries faster? Have you seen the new fucking weed zapping laser tractor? This thing's fucking insane. They've got this tractor now, this big sort of, 15 or 20 foot wide box that sits underneath a tractor, and it rolls along at like 3 miles an hour, and lasers, it's got cameras that are identifying the crop from the weeds, and lasers are fucking zapping the weeds as it rolls along. So yes, and then I saw yesterday, someone invented this thing. It's like a rack, a rolling rack, that goes in between, like down an apple orchard, and then it's got drones that. Each of the drones has like a long pipe with a suction cup on the end. And so the drones sort of fly off this platform, identify the ripe apples, fly up to the apple, suction cup it, pick it, and drop it into the bin in the cart. So there were like 10 drones picking apples and dropping the apples into the cart, all coordinated. So yes, I think they're going to be picking strawberries faster. It's just gonna. I'm telling you, man. This is gonna start accelerating. Like this kind of remarkable, mind-blowing stuff that in any other year of any other decade, in any other century, you would fucking stop the presses and go, holy shit, everyone's got to know about this. And now it's happening like every 3 days. And it's going to start happening like every day. And then it's going to happen like 3 times a day. So yes, I think, Matthew, we're picking more strawberries faster. Oh, it's flipping amazing. It's just amazing. What is a prompt library? So prompt library is just, if you go to prompt base, or if you go to that document, prompts.chat right there, that's a prompt library. It's just a collection. So here's the deal. Unlike Google, what Google wants is for you to be as concise as possible. Find me the competitors of this company, right? They want you to just put in one short thing that doesn't kind of pollute the search, and then they're going to give you as relevant results as possible. This generative AI stuff works kind of the opposite. It needs a lot of context, right? So you say, I want you to act as a magician, and you're a magician that specializes in stage magic. And your job today is going to be to teach me, how to saw a lady in half in a way that seems relevant to modern audiences. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. So all of the crafting that you do to sort of wind ChatGPT up to deliver good results, it takes a lot of troubleshooting. Like you'll get it, you'll think it's great, and then you'll ask it something, and it's like, oh no, that's not great. And you're like, oh, okay, I need to know what I need to do, and you'll modify your prompt, and the prompts can get quite complicated and Byzantine, and right. And so a prompt library is just to say, okay, for the saw a woman in half magician dude, here's the prompt for that. You throw that in a library, and then someone else can, if they want to do magic stuff, they would go search your library if it were public and go see it. So that's all it is. You're great. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. I used ChatGPT to create a quiz to tell me a person's invest and risk tolerance. Yep. Oh, that's great. So it created a quiz. So the next step for that, Anthony, take that quiz, make that a Google form, then do a Zapier automation where when someone fills out that form, you send their answers to ChatGPT with a prompt that then responds to them with, here's your risk tolerance report. And then you could end it with, by the way, if you want to talk more about this, reach out to me and we can talk. I can help you with this. Or, here's the kind of stuff you might want to invest in. That would be a fun one to build. You talking about Hunter? Maybe. I don't know. Damn, RT. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Why do all the AI channels talk like they're prophets? Because this is the most profound technology in the history of humanity. And so the minute you get your head around what it's actually doing and what it makes possible, it's really hard not to go to a place of this is going to be brutal and beautiful, which was talked about earlier in this live. So I don't know that there's a way to talk about this stuff without talking about the future, because we don't know what it's going to be. And it could be bad, it could be good. It's definitely going to be profound. It's definitely going to be disruptive. So probably because they're paying attention. I mean, what I can promise you is I don't have any fucking answers. I have a lot of thoughts. Based on my experience of having gone through this with the World Wide Web, going from the early days of that through the dot-com bubble burst, I've seen these markers before. And what I can tell you is with the early days of the web, I could look at what that did, and I had a really clear sense of what the future looked like 20 years out, and it pretty much looked like that. This, I don't have a fucking clue, because this is so staggeringly more powerful than what the World Wide Web was. All the World Wide Web really did was allow you to connect this piece of information to this piece of information instantly. That's pretty straightforward. This takes the collective output of humanity, or at least what was on the World Wide Web, and ultimately it gets much broader, and it makes it available as this sort of simmering pot of knowledge you can do anything with. What does that mean for the future? I don't fucking know. But I know it's going to be big and profound. So if this channel and other channels like this sound prophetic, probably because they're paying attention. Don't let Lucy die in vain. My brother's writing a book on high crown sombreros. It helped him research using ChatGPT. Yeehaw, that's awesome. AI these nuts. Nice. That's a solid retort there. Dust in the wind. Love it. If you're going to troll here, be creative with it. Ideally your troll is somewhere between a compliment and a put down, but AI these nuts is class. It's a classic. It's a classic. You can bring it up almost anywhere. It still works. Still good. Solid. I got to go to bed, people. What do you want with me? I saw that Salesforce is getting AI. Yeah, they have like 10 tools or something like that. It will build workflows, which sounds awesome. Salesforce needs an AI front end so fucking bad. It is the most painful, torturous piece of shit that you can't get rid of. It's horrible. And if you could just go, met this guy, stick it in there, and it just automatically listens to your conversation with him, writes the notes, summarizes them, pops it in there, does all whatever crap Salesforce requires you to do because you customized it for your stupid fucking sales workflow like we have. God damn, does it need AI? Like, I don't want to have to deal with... Salesforce is such the perfect example of where these tools need to disrupt and destroy the complexity of the world. It's the perfect example. Ugh, Salesforce. It needs AI so bad. Like, it can't come soon enough. Hey, Lightning, the new interface, Lightning, it's the slowest, most horrible piece of shit. Oh my God, does it need AI? AI just put LegalZoom out of business. Yeah, and a lot of lawyers. AI is an amazing tool I use for brainstorming projects, creating outlines, saves hours. It does. Hours, days. I'm autistic, and honestly, getting ChatGPT was so exciting. It fact dumps, and it doesn't mind pointed questions. It doesn't, Angela. And it's to the communication thing, one of the things that really surprises me about it, but it shouldn't, but it's just because of the nature of our society right now. Because we're so polarized, there are certain words you literally can't say, right? Like right now, you can't say trans, right? Because trans just means, right? So there's certain words you can't say because we're so polarized. But you can with ChatGPT. You can say anything, and you can ask it anything, and it will respond with nuance. It'll say, well, here's part of the situation. Here's part of the situation. Here's why people might act like that. Here's why people might feel that way. Oh, okay. I can actually have a conversation with that to understand. Like, sometimes you just want to understand an issue, right? But we're so polarized right now, you can't even bring up the issue if you wanted to understand it. And if you Google it, all you find is like the SEO injected misinformation bullshit. Like, whoever spent the most is you get their point of view. But with this thing, you can just say, could you educate me about this completely polarizing issue? It's like, sure. Here's a piece of it. Here's a piece of it. Would you like to know more? Yeah. Tell me about this. Well, here's the history of that. Oh, great. It's amazing for that. Amazing. All right. Let's see. I'm going to do one more and I'm going to go. Bard. Bard sucks. That's why Bard's not on this list yet. Bard will get on this list when it stops sucking ass. All right. How can we slow down globalists from taking over with AI? Okay. We'll do this as the last one. Let's see. I think Meta I think Meta has actually, it's so funny. It's like Zuckerberg was just like the evil billionaire forever, and all of a sudden in the past 2 or 3 months, like he's going to end up being the voice of reason. I think the fact that Meta released their Llama models to the developer community, and the fact that there's a vibrant open source large language model community right now, means that the globalists, or just huge centers of power, whatever you want to call them, huge centers of power aren't going to be able to monopolize this thing as easily. Like if ChatGPT hadn't been popular, if Microsoft said, okay, we're going to make $1 billion investment in OpenAI, and they launched ChatGPT and no one really gave a shit about it, because not for nothing, GPT-3 was out for like a year and a half before you could ostensibly do with GPT-3 what ChatGPT was, right? So it had been out for a year. No one really gave a shit. I mean, people that knew about this stuff did. But ChatGPT getting to 100 million users forced Google to reveal what they were doing with AI, forced Meta to do it. They released Llama into the wild. AWS is in the game. You've got all of the major players, with the exception of Apple, they're keeping a little low key right now, because I think they're going to come out with something big, like they do. If it had just been kind of OpenAI and Microsoft, and then Google and Meta, and they all still had their AI platforms kind of behind the firewall, and they're like, well, we're going to control all these, then I think it would have been much easier for the centers of power to monopolize that and control it. I think the fact that Meta released their weights, their large language model, the secret sauce, actually changes the game. And the fact that ChatGPT was so popular so quickly, it means that massive amounts of money and massive amounts of engineering talent are all aimed at all this AI stuff right now. So I think the speed of innovation, and the speed of innovation outside of those controllable companies is actually beyond the ability to control it, at least for the short term. Maybe long term, over 20 years. So the early days of the internet was very much like this, where there were some big players, but the promise of it was this is open and it's democratic and everybody gets to do anything they want. Over time, it kind of normalized toward commercial entities, right? Facebook, Google, right? I think with this AI stuff, it's going to be similar, and maybe over time, it centralizes toward the bigger companies. If indeed those bigger companies have an advantage by needing massive amount of resources. But what the open source community is kind of showing us is that we might not need massive amounts of resources now that we've got the core models that we can play with. So I don't know. It's going to be fascinating. I got no flipping clue. I don't think we can slow it down at all, though. But I don't think it's the globalists that are pushing the agenda. I think it's a remarkable technology that's time has come, and ChatGPT was the thing that broke the dam open. So with that, that's probably something good to end it on. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me. This is remarkable that you're all here and willing to listen to this old fart talk prophetically about the brutal, beautiful destruction that is coming. Transformation that is coming. It's not just destruction. Old things die, new things are born. That's what's coming. But I really appreciate all your time. Peace out. I got him to 10,000 likes. Awesome, man. Thank you. Till next time. See you, Silver Fox. I appreciate everybody. When are you back? Tomorrow night. I've been doing these nightly. I do this instead of sim racing, which is my love. But I have a sim racing heel right now. So, and this is hopefully going to make a difference. So, peace, everyone.